All right, our first up on the agenda this evening is the approval of the agenda, and we do need to do one modification to the agenda. And under 8, Section 8, County Manager portion, we need to add E. We already have closed session D for personnel. We also need to add attorney-client privilege to that as well. So the final item of business for the evening will be going into closed session for personnel and attorney-client privilege matters. So this time I would entertain a motion that we approve the amended agenda.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Wyatt, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right. Agenda is approved as amended. Up next on the agenda is our consent agenda, which includes the contract for Connect South, the contract for the Employee Assistance Network, the Transportation Services Agreement request, hazard mitigation designation of applicant's agent update, the Cooperative Extension Golden Leaf funding transfer request, and let's see, the 23-24 school nurse memorandum of agreement, and the approval of the meetings from August 8th special meeting, August 8th regular meeting, and August 22nd special work session meeting minutes. So this time I will entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a move that we approve that as it was presented to us.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley, Commissioner Hensley, sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Consent agenda is approved. Up next on the agenda is public comment. Our first session of public comment is just general public comment, and we have no one signed up prior to the meeting. So I will make a motion that public comment portion be closed.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Well, I guess we ought to vote on that. All in favor? All right, just to make sure. All right, public comment is closed. Next on the agenda is Transportation Operations Director Daniel Metcalf. Daniel, the podium is yours, sir.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
For this portion, we have a presentation from Mr. Happy Fox, and his assistant with him, a former student, Jason Rice, is with us today. But wanted them to share some things about the propane conversion grant, which we did have funded by the state, and we're seeking that final signature, if your approval, tonight. But at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Fox to come up, do a short presentation, and then have time for questions if you have any questions from him.
Very good.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Hope you are.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Floor is yours, sir.
Okay, move quick. My name's Happy Fox. I'm a representative with Alliance Auto Gas. We're a division of Blossman Propane Gas Company. We have been calling on different fleets throughout the Southeast and in about 47 other states, one of them including Alaska, for them to introduce them to an auto gas program. So it's vehicles that are powered by propane. The benefits are simply put, you can save a good bit on fuel cost, reducing emissions, and give that fleet energy security. So with just a brief few slides, I'll give you a little bit of information on it. While I'm doing a slide, if you have a question, please feel free to ask it. And then at the end, I've got an ROI to give you a little bit of an ROI on it as well. So basically, we were started in '09. Blossman, our parent company, was started in 1951. Our systems are all EPA certified. We go through all the tests and the rigorosos to make sure that we meet all those qualifications. And we like to offer what we call a complete program. So a lot of times some fleet or business might come in and they might just offer one part or another part. We can offer all the services to hopefully help a transportation agency or others that we work with, such as Daniel and Bureau's Transportation Department, to operate a successful program. So we can help analyze the fleet to see if it's a good fit or not. We can help provide the conversion and the service on the vehicles training. We can provide the infrastructure with the fueling. And we can also provide training and support after a program is up and running. So we're in it for the long haul. And our goal is to partner up with other fleets to help them have a successful program. So as we go through this process, the vehicle stays intact as it comes to Madison County, and it does other fleets. We leave all those components in place. We add a tank, a filler valve, a gauge on the inside of the vehicle, the underhood components, as well as a computer. So the vehicle is going to start on gas, and then when it gets to operating temperature, it's going to automatically switch over to being powered by propane. That's when you get the savings and the benefit of the program. If the vehicle were to run out and it's on an extended route, that vehicle would just simply automatically switch back to gasoline. You wouldn't even know it. So a lot of times in emergency situations, we're able to meet fleets and help them stay on the job site or provide their services a little bit longer. But we provide all the training for that. Our headquarters is in Asheville, North Carolina for our R&D facility. You're welcome to attend it. Our warehouse is just down the road in Swannanoa. I live in Fletcher, so I'm a local Western North Carolina person, so anybody that I can partner up with and work with in our area keeps me closer to home. So we work with a lot of variety of fleets. We do a lot of public transportation. We do a lot of law enforcement. We do a lot of service and delivery companies as well, such as a FedEx contractor or MB Haynes Electrical or Gray Line Trolley. Depending on the fleet, if it's a good fit, we partner up with them, do an ROI to see if it would be a good fit or not. Blossman is our parent company. We have over 60% of our fleet operating on this same program. So we're not just doing this for one or two reasons. We're totally invested into this program. So we mentioned earlier about the vehicle searching, the conversion of the vehicle and what entails with that. We also work to provide the infrastructure to make it easy for a fleet to adapt to this. Instead of making a whole lot of changes, basically they can just change the fuel and keep their program up and running. So as you see in the lower left corner here, that's a pretty typical dispenser for refueling. It's a 1,000-gallon tank with a card reader dispenser there. So that way it works very very similarly to filling up at a public gas station. The little nozzle you see right here in the middle, there's no gloves or eye protection needed. It's a quick connect nozzle. So it connects on and it connects off. If it's not connected properly, it's not going to disperse fuel. So there are a lot of safety features going into that equation. Public school buses has been one big area where we have made leaps and bounds, and that nozzle, ironically, has been another area that has helped people adapt the programs even quicker. So this is an ROI for Madison County, getting information from Daniel and Kathy. Basically, what you will see here is if you look on the left-hand box there, there's 11 vehicles. Their goal is for them to convert 11 vehicles in their fleet using the analysis. Basically, each vehicle is going to use about 2,000 gallons in a year. The average price that we use for that time, which ironically is pretty close to what it is now, is $3.55 a gallon. So that's about $78,000. For propane, our price today would be about $1.73. So we're saving well over $1.50 per gallon, per fleet, per vehicle. Propane is about a 1.5 to 110 octane, so it needs a little bit more propane. The efficiency is not the same. So that's why you see the propane gallons at 25,300. We factored in knowing that it's going to use a little bit more propane than it would use traditional gasoline. So if you take those two fuel costs, the difference of those two, if all 11 vehicles were converted, it would be over $34,000 in a year savings. If one vehicle was converted, it would be about over $3,000. Pretty simple math there. On the bottom line, we have 11 vehicles. We have a conversion cost of $780, and we have an ROI of about 3 months, which is tremendously good. If I can be under a year, I feel really good. If I can be under 9 months, I feel even better. The reason this is 3 months is on a state contract, of which we are. That system is priced at $7,800. So of that $7,800, 90% is paid through the state, and the county is responsible for that other 10%. So that's where that's where the $780 comes from. Just to be very transparent with where those numbers come from. So we would welcome the opportunity to, talking to Daniel and Kathy and meeting with you all tonight, we would welcome the opportunity to be a service provider and you all start a program. Jason Rice is a gentleman here on the front row. He's with Blossman Gas. It's local. Our branch is over in Burnsville, but we have refueling over there. Our goal would be hopefully to put refueling here at a convenient location for the fleet, and it would be able to operate very seamlessly. Hopefully the program would be like what we do at Blossman. When a vehicle gets used for this department and it's ready to, and that department needs a newer vehicle, it gets transferred to another department. Hopefully the same thing could happen here with Madison County, and you could have that savings could carry over to other departments. Any questions or any information I can help you with?
So essentially, just to sum it up, our fuel efficiency is slightly less from a miles per gallon aspect,
Yes,
but the cost of fuel is cheaper, and then the ultimate goal is it burns cleaner.
that is, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that
A real good summary. I have the brochure. I've got some brochures I can give to you all as well, and we can email this to you all as well if you'd like to, if you need to see this again. But we call it just my elevator speech is, and I know I've taken longer than that, sorry.
it's okay.
We call it economics, to where you save on the fuel cost. We call it emissions, to where you're reducing the emissions of the vehicle. And then we call it energy security, to where if there's a disruption in the power source, if there's a disruption in the fuel line, we are still able via a bobtail, or maybe the site is generated power, we're able to still fill up those vehicles so they can still stay out on service. And then it has 2 fuels in it now, so that expands the range of it as well. Particularly helpful for public transportation and law enforcement.
Anybody else have any questions?
Just a few, and it's things that Daniel can ask as well at a later date, but I'm going to ask him since we've got you here already.
Yes, sir.
I've field tested propane vehicles before, so I'm pretty familiar with the mechanics of it. And the only question I have, or I have a couple, is $1.73 a gallon. Is that a locked rate?
We can do it both ways. That right there is pretty much been our average price for the past, I'm going to say 4 to 6 months.
And is that based on an estimated usage for our county?
That is not based on an estimated usage. That is based on just our giving. We work with a lot of other transportation agencies in Western North Carolina, so we're using the same pretty much price structure for you all that we use for, say, Yancey County or Haywood County or other counties that have a program.
And the installation, I'm guessing it's 1,000-gallon tank. I didn't pay much attention.
That picture is a 1,000-gallon tank, so propane, you can only fill a tank at 80% full.
Right.
So that tank's going to hold 800 gallons.
And if you were, it sounds like you're saying that you'd like the opportunity to do business with our transportation folks, and that you would set up one of those stations.
That is our goal and our hope. We have one at our branch. We have them in other places. If Haywood County has one, if you'd like to see one, we can introduce you to them as well. Basically, what we do as a fuel provider, we're on state contract there as well. We provide that tank and the dispenser, and then we ask for the customer to pay for the electrical connections and the safety post.
No leaks on the tank.
That way, we both have the equal skin in the game. We have to make sure permits are followed, which we do that. We make sure codes are followed, which Jason in our branch does that as well. And we work to make sure, like we've selected a couple of sites. Kathy and Daniel have given us another site or two, so we're working to try to select, if we could move forward, I don't want to be too presumptuous there, of where would be the best location and best access for those vehicles to be able to pull in and refuel.
And is there a lease on the tank system?
No, yeah, so generally what we do, I'm going to go back a little bit and then come forward. We offer pricing both ways. So if you need an index pricing, which what this is, it's going to float just like gasoline and diesel prices do. Or if you want a fixed price, we can offer you a fixed price as well. And we do that with a lot of school buses. And they say, hey, I want to pay, give me a rate. And when we generally do that, we can do that out to about 3 years.
And what is the terms?
Just pay monthly.
No, I meant, a 1-year contract, 2-year, 3-year.
With the investment that we make and the support that we want to provide, we like to do 3-year contracts. It can be an extra 1-year option on there or 2, but with probably 90% of fleets that we work with are about a 3-year contract.
Then y'all know that with ours, it was 69,000. We were paying 6,900, I guess. The state's paying 6,900, and then the federal grant's paying the rest.
Correct.
So based on, I guess, would you say your estimates are in retrofitting these 11 vehicles that we will realize our savings, the total savings in 2 years, based on these projections?
Yes, sir.
I
So
have no.
ROI, is there other projected, there are other cost factors involved in that? Or are you just on the system conversion ROI, or a little bit of
Yeah,
everything?
I'm saying it's going to cost us. It's not costing us, but it's costing the government $70,000 to retrofit these 11 vehicles, and to realize the benefits of those cost savings, not just environmentally, but the financial benefits based on your estimates. It'd take a couple of years.
Yeah.
We were wondering about this back in December when we were talking about it. So
Yeah,
just gathering
fair
that
enough.
up.
Yeah.
And just to clarify that the tank like you showed us the picture of that has right there. So that would be set up somewhere here in the county for
Yes.
our vehicles to refill at, possibly at transportation office or somewhere else maybe that's been selected or identified.
Yes,
So that is not that equipment is not accessible to the public. This is strictly for transportation department, correct?
it would start as strictly for transportation, yes. It would be just for you all,
Okay.
and or Madison County. And then if, say, in a few years, some of those vehicles were to roll out and you wanted to repurpose them to another department,
You're right.
and other vehicles were coming in, other vehicles under your all's control in your fleet, they could fill up, we could add vehicles to fill up at that site. But technically, the original plan is just for you all to fill up there. Is that,
Well, that's a good point, because I just found out last week that Daniel's vehicles are well sought after in the county as hand-me-downs, and there's like a waiting list of 4. Yeah. So kudos to you, but that's very likely to happen in the very near
If we
future.
could keep the deer from crashing into the yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I ask 3 quick ones.
Yes, sir.
Daniel, Mr. Fox, any concerns over warranty violations once we get a new vehicle installed on these? Are we going to avoid any of our warranty on an existing vehicle?
under the Magnuson, I can't remember the next name in it, but there is an act, a law that states that if we're an EPA certified and we don't do anything to the vehicle original part, that warranty stays in place, whether it be a Ford, GM, or Dodge. And then our warranty our installing of that does not impact it. And then we have our own warranty as well. So on new vehicles, it's up to 5 years, 100,000 miles. On vehicles with some miles on them, it's 3 years, 36,000 miles. I'm going to be very transparent. There is some go back and forth every now and then, because some fleets are a little bit concerned about the windshield wiper motor goes out. You've added propane to the system, and they go, "Oh, we can't mess with that." It does happen. We're right here, and we would make sure that the diagnostic on the Ford side or GM or Dodge can tell if it's on gas or propane or not. On our side, we can tell if it's on our side as well or it's not, and we work to make sure that the warranty's honored.
The cost to outfit a new vehicle arriving in the county, similar?
It's state contract.
Let's say next year we got enough vehicles coming in, similar costs to outfit it?
Under state contract, it's going to be somewhat similar, depending on the department and depending on the funding that would come from the state on that. I know they target state transportation agencies. I could double check on the other side for you on that. Sometimes it's only 80%, and sometimes it might be a little bit less. But I can research. But if it's on state contract, it makes it obviously easier for y'all to purchase it.
State contract that we'll be purchasing and doing that on is good for a certain period of time. So as long as that state contract is open, it will be under that particular purchase price. And then you'll get probably another state contract that will be be negotiated in another calendar year, depending upon as cost fluctuates, the vendor will want to rebid the cost of operating the system.
That's what we were just talking about. I was a little concerned about the original question I asked about the terms, the length of terms, and how that would impact,
And generally what happens, that's the reason, in this cycle, you have a request for an application for an award that the transportation department is made. And that application and the cost of it is generally coincides with what the state contract is for that particular fiscal year. And then next year, if he decides to make an application, then his bid and the cost of it will be commensurate with probably what the state contract is that particular.
The state contract runs basically like for 3 years, and then there's 2 one-year options to where that department, is you're familiar, can roll it over, which is what they're doing, what they've done right now. So we're in a rollover year right now.
that's my main concern, is making sure that if state contract, I don't have a problem with it, Daniels. But if it's not, then I think the bidding process, even mandated, but a bidding process would be appropriate to give everyone equal opportunities, vendors, so. Thank you, Mr. Fox. Appreciate your presentation. It's very informative and concise.
Thank you very much. I've got folders and brochures if anybody, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes, is there an extra charge every time it's refilled? You know, it's domestic, and they charge you so much for EPA or this other stuff. Is any of these extra charges? Do you know anything?
We don't have we would refill that tank, and we've set it up a couple of different ways, but basically we can do a bill by transaction, and then there's, I don't think there's any charges on there at all if we do that. And then if we do just a one delivery in there, and then it's still only you all would fill up there, but if we put 400 gallons in that tank, there would just be a bill for 400 gallons. It would come, so we can do it either way. We can do what we call a bulk delivery, or we can bill you by transaction.
But is there an extra charge by the government, or, you know, if at home they charge you, like at my house, if somebody comes, they charge you,
EPA fee and a delivery
Yeah.
fee and everything.
I don't think we have any, no, sir.
No add-ons.
No, sir.
Okay.
And one little extra caveat, just, I don't know how long it's gonna be on there, but the 173 price, there's an alternative fuel tax credit in place right now, and that's an additional 37 cents. I did not include it in this. It's set to expire in 2024. It's been pretty much in place since 2012, and it's been renewed like every 3 years or so far. Sometimes it's retroactive, but it's good through 2024, so that would really bring that price down even lower. But just to be transparent with you all, because we don't know the future of it, I didn't include it in this. Your ROI would jump down, even be a little bit lower on that.
So you say 37 cents?
It's called the alternative fuel tax credit,
Right.
and it's 37 cents per gallon.
Gotcha.
We had this discussion during budgets hearings as far as whether we need to increase the amount of line item for fuel, and of course this answers that question, so it's good.
So I got several questions here. Does that grant cover the fueling station too, or does it just cover the conversion kits for the vans?
It's the conversion kits and then our portion of the fueling station.
Okay. And is the driver able to fill those up, or does it take somebody specially trained to do that, or do you train the drivers to fill it up, or what's
Drivers. And
So
they'll have a fueling card, like a gas card, so only those drivers with a
Drivers
card
can fill that.
can fuel at the station.
And you mentioned maintenance so we can still use our regular shop or whatever garage to work on the engine. It's just the maintenance part goes to the fuel portion of what you put on there.
That's correct, yes. So on our system, those underhood components are moving that propane through the system, right? It'll inject it in injectors just like it would gas. There's 3 filters on there. So those 3 filters, we ask for they're changed after 15,000 miles. And then after that first filter change, we ask that they're changed about every 40 to 45,000 miles. So it's not a high maintenance extra issue. And with there being no carbon and propane, it's clear like water. That helps, that can help extend the life of the engine or reduce some of the wear and tear on the vehicle as well. But on that side, your shop that's working on gas and diesel equipment now, they wouldn't have to do any change. We could either train under the state contract, we could either train them to do that service work, or we have in about 30 minutes either way, we have a service center that could do that maintenance work.
Okay. And the tank that you put on vehicles, how many gallons is that, and how long, where's it located, and all
Good
that?
questions. Yeah. On most of these vehicles, they're Ford Transit vans. So we put the tank in place of a spare tire. So it's a 21 usable gallons of propane, and it's a steel tank, 4-inch thick steel, and it goes in place of the spare tire.
And what are we gonna do with the spare tire?
Usually most agencies hold on to them in their shop, and then if a transportation van goes out, usually they don't want the driver changing the. Do you need to address it, or am I? Are you?
No, you can.
So most of them will send someone out in another van, and then they'll get someone to come change that tire for them, or have it towed back in, because they don't want the driver or those passengers messing, being in harm's way.
Otherwise, the last person on the van has to hold it in their lap.
And as far
They
as,
get a discounted seat if they do that, though.
as far as power, does it affect the power any, or does it give it more or less, or how?
Power, I've heard people say more. I'm not convinced yet on that, just because it's a 1.5 to 110 octane. The power and the torque should be the same. So it should operate literally identical under gas as it should under propane.
You wouldn't know any difference. You wouldn't know when switching, you wouldn't know when it's on gas, when it's on,
It's not like racing fuel.
you don't even know what's
Yeah,
done.
even though it is a 110 octane.
That's right. It's not gonna be like putting race fuel in.
Yep. If needed, we've got vehicles, and personally, I would be, if somebody needs to drive one or test one, I'm all in. I'll come back and meet with you and let you drive it for a day, test drive it, see what it looks like. You're more than welcome. We try to be very transparent.
Daniel, have we put RFP out to get those vehicles retrofitted yet? The vehicles retrofitted, have we put out a bid for that yet?
For the conversion?
Yeah.
No.
Is that something you anticipate will happen in the near
Yeah, I
future?
mean, if approved.
And
Of course, that's
11,
on state contract too, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to put it out.
It's on contract.
You could just.
We like to stay on state contract. It keeps
hear
the,
you.
11
Line's clear.
vehicles is what we're doing?
11.
Is that the whole fleet, or is that
That's
half?
our entire
That's
fleet
the
right
whole
now.
fleet.
Today,
today.
Yeah.
Yep, today.
We're hoping it grows. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, that fleet may grow by a couple, potentially, but ballpark 11.
And you've put these on a lot of vehicles, I'm sure. What have you seen is the most common problem, or if any, that they give? I mean, is it filter stopped up, or what?
yeah,
What's the most
it's-
common problem?
Fair, good question.
run out of gas.
A few years ago, if you didn't change the filters on it, that filter can catch up little particles or little debris in there. And so it wouldn't cause damage to it, but it wouldn't operate smoothly. It would give you a little bit of a stutter or a shimmy, if the filters weren't changed. Now the filters, we've tested them and gone a little bit longer than that, but as that was about 3 to 5 years ago. In the last 3 to 5 years, we've kind of moved up a little bit with direct injections, more computerized controls under one of our underhood components, and that hasn't gone away completely, but it's pretty close to going away. And then we also are putting in filters on site where the refueling station is to catch a little bit of that debris, just like you wouldn't see it at a gas station or a diesel. But if we can catch that debris, a particle, before it gets to the tank or before it gets to the vehicle, the maintenance goes, there's a significant impact. So we're literally making a big push company-wide wherever we have infrastructure to upgrade to have these filters in place. The other, if I may, I don't mean to be taking
It's
too much
okay,
time.
go ahead, you're fine.
The other component, and I'm going to be very transparent, is if the program is not managed, if there's not buy-in to operate a program, I will certainly believe they do, or we wouldn't be here, right? But it doesn't just run on automatic pilot. So you want to encourage the people. We want to help provide the training, but the drivers need to be encouraged, to say, hey, we're running on propane and we're saving money and we're reducing emissions and we're helping our fleet. And then if the drivers get a buy-in, then it works pretty well. But there is a stigma with some people that if they're not educated on propane or familiar with it, they can give a little bit of pushback. And it can hurt a program. Our mission is to sell as much propane as we can. Are there benefits to it? Absolutely. But our business model is we enjoy selling propane. But we're ultimately, for you all, we're here to help. We want to help you all save money and have a good program that benefits the county as far as emissions, as far as economics, both sides.
Starting to sound a little bit like Hank Hill there, for just a little bit.
Yeah.
If
I
people
don't
get
know him,
the-
but I've heard of him.
people that get the reference, maybe. All right.
Fair enough.
Bobby, where's my propane?
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
One more question. So if the filter does get stopped up and it does what you just said, explain there, can the driver switch it back over to gas, or are we just dead in the water when
They
it
can
happens?
switch it back over.
So they've
that-
got a,
I don't have a picture of it, but that switch, it's a little gauge on the dash of the vehicle and it lights up. And if it's lit up and it says parens, that means it's on propane. If that light is out or flashing, it's on gas. And then on the top of it, there's little bars that tell you how much fuel is in it. They go out as it goes down. When it gets to the end, that last bar will turn yellow. It's not a 2-gallon warning, but at any time, if there's any concern, they can push that button. It's a push button, and it'll shut the propane off and it'll automatically switch back to gas.
I have no further questions.
Good
Anybody
question.
else? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Daniel. Well, you're not going anywhere yet. You've still got more to do, don't you? So, at this point in time, I know we had already agreed to explore this. Do you have what you need, or do we need a motion to get that finished up on that grant?
We just need a final signature to accept the grant as
You will need a
funded.
motion, you've approved the application for it, now it's been awarded, and now you'll have to accept the award
Okay.
and authorize the chairman to execute the final grant.
All right. So this time I would entertain a motion that we execute the grant that we've been awarded.
One question, is it for 3 years?
Well,
It's a one-year
it's
grant.
Yeah, it's a 1-year grant. This is to get everything set up. We would still have to maintain everything after that at the costs that are in the contract.
You mentioned something about 3 years, is that within you?
That's the contract.
That's the fuel. Of course, we're not in discussion. We're in the motion to get to discussion.
So move.
We got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Now discussion, Bill. You got any additional questions? Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any additional discussion?
Well, on page 49, does that name, will that be changed, or?
Let me get to page 49.
Has the previous commissioner's name on it, but I think it'll have no impact on it.
Oh, you're talking page 49 of the packet.
Yeah, the packet, I'm sorry. Because it's dated April 11th, 2023, but
I believe that was the application, was it not?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
That's the application.
Yes.
So that's fine. We're voting to whether we accept the grant or not.
all right.
So I think we're okay there.
We did this back last year, December.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if my mark would even be on there for December, but
Yeah, it's,
One
It was early.
comment I've got, I mean, whatever we decide, do we want to do the whole fleet, or do we just want to do, or can we just do part of them to give it a trial there and see how it goes, or do we have to go ahead and do the whole thing?
There's no requirement that we have to do the whole thing. We wrote the grant
For the whole thing?
for the whole thing. I know Yancey County did part of their fleet. Speaking with their director earlier this summer, he was bragging about the fact that he had not spent over $1.80 per gallon for propane.
how much gas did they say? Did he say?
He didn't say.
Is he pretty happy with it?
He was. he was happy.
Daniel, the local fund match, did we already have a place where
Earmarked.
that was coming from? Yes, thank
Our
you.
fuel purchase, our fuel cost.
It's already in your budget.
Realize that, it's just in savings. Well, there again, I've driven them, you don't know any difference.
And our drivers, shortly after I came on board in this area, we experienced a shortage of gasoline.
Yeah.
So we had to restrict our transit, and we only did medical transportation there for a good while.
And we could experience interruptions again, whether it be eco-terrorism or whether it be hurricanes or anything of that nature. That it is a little bit of a safety net.
And at that time, there was really no reason other than just panic local.
Right.
Well,
Well, when we had the pipeline, Colonial Pipeline had their shutdown deal where they had their little issue for a while. So
the downside is that you got a big tank in there, you got extra tanks you got to contend with. These vans, it's not as bad. Regular vehicles can be a little bit of an issue as far as just that extra space. Plus, those tanks are typically smaller. I don't know what the size tanks are on your vans now, but I'm guessing 30 gallon or something. And these tanks are
think they're-
20,
You're talking about the gasoline tanks? They're 20 something.
so there's not a lot of difference.
Just
in
in
tank.
fueling
Even though
up,
you
yeah.
get a lower, what does they call it, B?
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3. I think the transit may be 22 to 24. I'm not sure. You can maybe get something special. It's a little bit larger, a gallon or two more.
A little less efficiency, so you won't be able to go as far on tank of fuel. But you got backup, so.
that's right. Cool. Any additional discussion at this time? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? Very good. All right, that one passes. Daniel, you are up, still up for the transportation grant agreement for the Rural Formula Grant Program.
Okay, moving on to a new grant cycle for the FY25. We're asking for permission from the commissioners to apply for these grants that you have before you. The admin grant, you can see there on the memo, the total amount of $141,300, and then the breakout there with the federal, state, and then our local match.
And did we, this question for the Colonel, did we not, did we just talk about it, or did we not make it policy where they could apply for grants without our approval, but they just couldn't accept them until we approved? Was
And I
that,
can give me the authority to sign the application, the board does the grant acceptance.
This one is a little bit different in that this is your federal transportation grant. The application actually requires board action
okay,
as opposed to a
That's what I can
grant.
say.
Yeah.
sorry. Donnie got back from France just in time.
Daniel, are these the same grants we apply for every year, or are we?
These are
So the
with
matching funds, there's 3 different matching funds. I can't find the page again, but it's on our addendum here as well, man.
5/8.
It lists out each one, the same thing we're seeing here. So that, we already have those funds as far as allocated in your current budget for the matches.
So this is for next fiscal
Yeah,
year
right, it's for
already.
2025.
correct.
I'm saying currently, are we allocating funds for these grants? So that next budget cycle, we're not incurring additional
cost.
bingo.
Yeah.
Some of them, I
So
remember, it's like $40-something thousand for one. Yes, it was like $110,000 that we're currently allocating. Does
Yes.
that sound right, Madam Director?
Those funds will be in FY 25's budget, and part of the match is the salaries. So when we budget those salaries, that's considered the match on that, on
And
those
we're matching that now.
for the last
Right.
grant cycle, that's correct.
We ain't gotta come up with the extra 110,000.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We want to continue the same
Got you.
sources for the match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a good investment.
So for the admin grant, as Carrie mentioned, we use the salaries as matches there. On the capital grant, we're doing 2 replacement vans that were at or over 100,000 miles, and we can replace those. But we're also applying for 2 expansion vans if the state were to fund that. So that's included in that amount there.
Are there any questions we could ask you that would prompt you to have your staff stand up and speak?
I hope not.
We just don't want them to, we want them to get the benefit.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I would add on that, Daniel, with these new vans that you're purchasing, you're also, in your application, you will be converting
Those 2.
vans in addition to what you're doing right now, correct?
Yes,
That's part of the application.
and that's in there. Yeah.
The original application for the retros was 10 vans, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
not
that's
11.
what I think
So
too.
Yeah.
I was gonna
You're
ask
correct,
that.
because D10, it does not work on the Dodge.
But you actually have 4 because you've got 2 replacement vans and
2 additional.
expansion vans,
Yeah.
correct?
But there's no guarantee that we would get the expansion vans. That has to go through a process with the state. And if I'm not mistaken, just for correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember a takeaway from our last transportation meeting, instead of an 80-20 split on these new vans, we would actually have a 90-10 split, correct?
That's up for, it depends on state budget.
Right.
Yeah.
If everything if everything goes as we are led to believe that it's going to go, our match will drop from 20% to 10% on the new vans.
But I'm not gonna count on that.
Right. We're not counting on it, but there's a good possibility that it could happen.
And I'm not sure who, maybe Madam Clerk would know. The updated memo, what's particularly different from what's on page 79 and 80 of our current packet?
It needed to be updated, so instead of 2023, it needed to be 2025. And also a very small correction for a dollar amount, just because it didn't coincide in both places. So really no change other than that.
Awesome, thank you, Mandy.
I had the wrong amount up above after we
I just want to make sure.
went back and added the cost of the conversions, and
Got you.
I got it in one place and didn't correct it in the other.
No problem. I just want to clarify because I have.
That was my mistake.
But I did look at the one in our packet.
Does anybody else have any questions at this time? Okay, so technically, we are to have a public comment session in regards to this proposal that Daniel has just presented us with. No one signed up, but what we typically do on a public hearing, even if someone had not had the opportunity to sign up, if they're here in the room, we give them the opportunity to speak. So is there, to this matter, specifically to this matter, and it would be this grant application. You're limited to 3 minutes, just like any other public comment that we have, public comment session that we have. And so at this time, is there anyone in the room? We have no one that has signed up, but is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to this grant application process?
I put pressure on Kathy, she said no.
All right. Well, hearing and seeing none, I would I
Make a
move
motion
that
we
the
close
public
public
comment
hearing.
session be closed.
Second.
Second, motion by me, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, public comment is closed. Now we move on to the issue at hand, which is Daniel's grant application. And at this time, do we have a motion to approve the application process to be undertaken?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right. Apply away.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I believe that's everything you had for tonight, correct?
That's enough.
Thank you,
All
Daniel.
right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, staff.
You're off the hook.
Appreciate you guys. Yep. Just here for moral support. We see you. All right. Up next is our. Did I get ahead of myself on the public hearing?
No, you-
Okay. All right. I just didn't mark it off the one as we went along. Okay. Up next is Chris Maney. Sorry, my check marks didn't catch up. So Chris Maney, Parks and Rec director, in regards to bylaw amendment for the Parks and Rec board.
Thanks for your
And we
time.
also have our esteemed board chair with us as well,
We certainly
Mr.
do.
Ryan Cody.
Yeah, so thanks for your time. Ryan and I appear tonight where our Parks and Rec board is considered up to 15 members, and we think it's too many. So we'd like to lower that number to 10 for quorum issues more than anything. It would just help us for voting stuff. So, and I'm gonna let Ryan, he's our chairman, kind of go over the ins and outs of it right quick if you want to.
Mr. Cody?
Appreciate you guys having us here tonight. So purpose of the request is we've got 15 members on the board. The past 3 years, we've had one quorum. Sadly, that was when I was elected chairman, so I kind of regret having that quorum now. But no, but we had to beg a few people to show up so we could have a quorum to elect officers. Since then, that was 2 years ago. Since then, we've not had a quorum. We average anywhere from 5 to 6 members that can attend regularly. Before you have a list of some of those individuals who have not attended in the last 3 to 4 years, and a couple of other individuals who we've spoken with, who just due to their workload said they'd be okay to come off. And by doing that, it would reduce the number from 15 to 10. We're asking you to change the bylaws for us. We felt like this was a little bit more of a sensitive matter, so we didn't want to do that ourselves.
Isn't it fair to say, both of you men, that we had trouble at times getting people to serve on those boards and
We have.
almost
Yes.
voluntold people?
Correct.
And a lot of times it's not been just a matter of volunteering to serve, but then the actual serving part is what has kind of become problematic. My question would be, do you have a game plan in the event with the even number of people on that board? Do you have a game plan in the event that you have a tie vote?
Well, at this point, no, we don't, because in the interim, what we would anticipate doing is coming back in December and reducing that number to 9. So there'll be a couple of members who would be up for reappointment at that point in time. And if you chose not to reappoint one of those members, then we would be able to fulfill that with 9 members. Currently, since I've been the chairman, we have averaged maybe, I'm going to say 5 to 6 that can show up regularly. So I don't think having that tie-breaking vote would be an issue between now and the end of the year.
And under your new configuration, what would the quorum be?
We're asking the quorum be to 5.
Reduced from 8 to 5.
Yeah, from 8 to 5.
So you're saying, 10 voting members, but you're also wanting 3 representatives to be on that board too, right?
What we're looking at, we've asked for some ex officio people, so Chris is always at the meetings, but we're asking for the towns to have the ability to have a representative. Those
So in turn,
individuals
you're going
wouldn't
from
be.
15 to 13.
Well, in a way, but those individuals would not have vote.
And they wouldn't have to be part of it.
Yeah.
Be
Just like
council.
with our economic development board's comprised of 9 members, but we also have ex officio from school system and the towns as well.
County
And those individuals do not vote, but they are there to participate. And
So why do you think people's not showing up? Is it the time that you're all are having those meetings? Can you?
the 3 of them that I have listed here that have not attended, they've not attended since I've been on the board. I think it was just somebody knew and said, hey, let's put so-and-so on there because they were involved in sports or something like that. Part of the discussion our board's been having is that, Parks and Recreation focuses more, it's not just youth league sports. It's a wide focus of a lot of things. And so I think history-wise, it's always been people whose kids have been participating in sports. And once those kids age out, the people's interest wanes.
Personally, I'd like to see like 5 on the board. I mean, I know it's a advisory board, but you get 10 people giving advice, you know, you're gonna run into problems. So I think if you had 5 on there with those 3 non-voting members, I mean, that's 8 plus 5. You're not got an even number.
Right.
And also, I would like to see, you know, like you said, it ain't just youth sports. I mean, we need to put a plan together for adults like us to have games, a softball team, a basketball team.
Are you angling for pickleball, Jeremy?
And then maybe
Everybody wants pickleball, right?
Yes, they do.
a senior citizen on there to do some senior games for senior programs, and maybe even a high school student. But you know, I'd like to see, you know, and of course we appoint those people, but you know, I don't know that can be done. Make them, if you're a student, you know, like they do the health board, you have to be a doctor or whatever. Is that something that
You can do whatever you want to do. This is an advisory board, and you can create whatever kind of board you want.
I mean, we don't need 5 parents that kids play youth sports, or 5 coaches or 10 coaches. You know, I think that we need a different group of people on there. But yeah, I'd like to see 5, and plus give you the 3 non-voting members to get it to 8. And then I seen in your bylaws, if they don't show up, kick them off. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
66% of the meetings
Yeah.
they're supposed to be
Yeah,
there.
if they're not gonna show up, there's no sense in them being on there.
Right.
No, that's it. And I think that's something, you know, if that's the wish of this board at some point for us to reduce it down to 5, then, you know, we can definitely consider that. At that point, it would be, we'd either have to remove a few of the members that are currently there.
Or let it go by
Or-
attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever's up, so.
Right. The at this point, I would just offer up a suggestion that that they have a plan right now. What I mean, we could approve the plan that they've presented tonight, and then work on crafting a new plan that's that suits.
As the terms come up. Maybe.
Potentially, I mean, I think we need to discuss
We can work on it.
and talk with, we can amend that at any time, but I think ultimately to try to set out all those terms tonight is probably not, I think a high probability that we're gonna overlook something if we try to hammer it all out tonight. So my suggestion would be that we go ahead and roll with the plan that they've got for us here this evening. And then we can work on, making the plan more conducive to what this board would like to see.
So if we change it to 5, we would actually have to kick somebody off.
At this point, if you would. So right now, based on what we're recommending, we went through, me and Chris did, and went through and determined the 3 that have not attended, and then those that their work really makes it impossible for them to be able to be there. And Chris spoke to them to make sure they were comfortable being removed. So we found 5. Of the remaining 10, there's probably 1 that could come off that I can see would be an easy choice. Outside of that, it's just going to be taking somebody who has participated. The remaining 9 members that we would have actively participated in some way, shape, or form. And at least if they're not able to attend every meeting, they're able to be at every other one. So.
And it looks like 5 of you are up for election in December.
Could be. So, and I haven't got those in front of me to be able to tell you,
Yeah.
but it's something we could definitely explore. But by getting the quorum down to 5, where only 5 of them have to be present in order for us to vote and make any recommendations, that's the critical part for us too. So,
Well, this board would task the county manager, Honeycutt, and Parks Director Maney with developing an immediate triage of short-term needs for the ball fields, and that was addressed in the last budget cycle. This time we've allocated additional funding to help develop the strategic plan, to enhance it, to bring it more into line with all the different activities. And I think what Commissioner Hensley speaks to are some of those things that could be considered as we move forward with this strategic plan, whether we develop it or we contract to have it developed, working with us, but to consider some of those other points of interest as well for the residents of our county. I'm glad to see that we're taking this step. You know, the money for projects, for programs and facilities is, we have 100,000 allocated in this budget cycle for that, and then moving forward with beginning to address the bylaws and beginning to address how that board functions as an advisory board and making it more efficient, and continuing to move forward with how Parks and Rec is going to look in the years ahead, and how Mr. Maney's staff and office will function in regard to our youth leagues. So this is a good move. I'm glad to see us. It's just another step moving forward to hopefully in the next couple of years, if this board tarries together, that we'll be able to have a more comprehensive plan that's well-funded and well-staffed. So I'm totally supportive of it. Totally support some of the recommendations that Commissioner Hensley has made concerning things to consider as we move forward. So, that being said, I make a motion that we accept the revised amendments to the bylaws for Parks and Rec.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Second by Commissioner White. Any additional discussion?
I just want you to revisit this, you know. And
Okay.
look at it.
Absolutely.
Work the
Yeah.
things that have been mentioned, and maybe have some further discussion with other folks that are involved from all different parts of the county, and continue to work with the colonel and with your board and with Chris to bring back some additional.
I do think this is a step in the right direction. I mean, 15 people, you can look at our Parks and Rec 30 years ago, and it's the same today as it was 30 years ago, and we had 15 people on the board. So, I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Well, Chris, we realize that how your department's been funded, even your workload responsibilities and your pay, all those things are things that we're looking to assess so that we invest a lot more in keeping people busy, keeping them occupied in activities,
Right.
whether it be some of the activities from archery, or whether it be pickleball or bingo, or we're also going to be talking about the facilities and how we're going to, we're in that discussion now as a board currently. So the land we have and how we're going to use what we use as a benefit to the citizens for Parks and Rec. So, nothing further.
All right. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor?
As one additional note, I will say, we are currently working on developing that Parks and Recreation strategic plan. So Chris had engaged with Land to Sky, and so they've been doing some things. We're going to have a discussion with them whether or not they can fulfill the duties of actually taking us through a full rewrite of our plan. If not, then we're going to probably be coming back to you guys to look at maybe getting some additional consultants in that can help us do that, so that we can assess all the needs of the department and the county as a whole.
And it's fair to say, just as a forewarning, that would probably be at a cost fee.
Sure.
An
Yeah,
investment
it will
in-
be.
Well,
Yes.
it will be.
Bringing the experts in to assess what we
Yes.
have and what our
Correct.
needs are.
Correct.
To do the full assessment, even with Land to Sky, if they're willing to do it. And so far they've been a little bit more hesitant to take that part of it on, but there would be a cost to that as well. So they're currently working on maybe some data updates and geographic information, things like that.
Free of charge.
Free of charge. But to do a full assessment of what the county needs are, we're gonna have to pay to do that.
Well, here's what I would just encourage you, that just because something's free, if it's not timely, or it's not gonna be timely, then let's move it looking at other options. We've allocated funds to assist, and if that means using some of those funds to move forward with that. If Chris, as you, and Ryan, as your advisory board deems it appropriate, then bring those back to us. Bring them back to the colonel, actually. It's not anything this board would have to consider, and
Okay.
have that discussion. If we need to pay to move on with it, move on with it.
It's good.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Up next on the agenda is Finance Director Carrie Ledford. Finance Officer, which is the proper term, I'm
Either
sorry.
way. Either way is fine.
Madam Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before you for your approval, item A, which is budget amendment number 3. This amendment records the additional revenue brought in by your library from donations by the Friends of the Library in the amount of $704.05. Also recording revenues for your health department by the way of donations in the amount of $750, as well as a new grant in the amount of $28,850 to provide for primary medical care services. We've received the second and final payment of the LATCF funds. The amount of that was $173,490.02.
That goes in just general fund, I'm
That's
guessing.
correct. That's
We
correct.
know it's there. It's not earmarked for anything, but still.
That is
So we
correct.
determine
you.
what to use.
Sorry for the
Also,
interruption.
excuse me, also find the recording of the broadband opportunity grant received from the Land of Sky in the amount of $50,000. We've also received additional payment for the opioid settlement fund in the amount of $65,713.84, bringing our total to date to $310,132.67. Also, here to the recording of the additional revenue generated by the quarter-cent sales tax in the amount of $54,810.16. All these amendments are pending your approval.
And just a point, I always like to periodically, that quarter-cent sales tax is not just a tax here in this county. That's tax across the state.
That's within this county. We have
Yeah,
that
that's
additional
county
just
sales
for the
tax.
county.
That is, we had this discussion, Chairman Henson and I did some time ago, and he was surprised that that's $54,000 in 1 month. That's only a 0.25% of sales tax revenue in this county. So when the old punches, we always try to throw it out there, when you buy locally or you buy online and it comes to us, that's that. And how's that trend? I know you watch that.
For the quarter-cent sales tax, it has remained that, if you recall, I can probably go back, but it has fluctuated maybe $2,000, maybe $1,000 up within the last, since it's been adopted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been mid-50s. There's been a
Yes.
couple of times it's peaked around 59, I
that's
think.
correct.
And
That's correct.
then maybe bottomed out at around 52 or 51, but it usually stays in the mid 50
50s.
range.
That's correct.
And
Thank
this
you, ma'am.
this budget amendment adds $100,000 to contingency, just to mention, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
I'll make a move, we approve the.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. All in favor of budget, any discussion? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Thank you,
Budget amendment
gentlemen.
passes.
So item B, and due to the early date of the meeting and the Labor Day holiday, the August financial report will be included in your September and next month as a cumulative amount, since it's relatively early and we were off yesterday. So, sorry.
Well, when we pushed the meeting a week up, we didn't take into consideration how that would affect your office, and that's on us.
For your reading enjoyment is the list of the checks, though, that were written. That is what was actually written in August.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next on the agenda, County Manager Rod Honeycutt.
Gentlemen, two topics on the county manager's update, just for general business. First, the MAPS questionnaire, for the study for the salary and, compensation that we're doing by department. Those questionnaires have all been submitted, have been reviewed, and have been mailed to the MAPS. We expect our next step to be an interview by the MAPS group with select employees happening the 5th through the 20th of September. We'll get into November with the draft recommendation for me to review along with the directors. And then first of the year will be a presentation to the Board of Commissioners. That's where we're at the MAP study currently. Next topic is the biomass working group. September the 19th at 5:30 will be a listening session that the Economic Development Director will host. And then October will come to the Planning Board, November to the Board of Commissioners for action for your consideration at that time. So we're ahead of schedule where we thought we would be. making good progress. If you have separate questions, we'll go to the county-owned surplus property.
Anybody have any questions?
Sounds good. It's a good
Thank you.
update, Colonel.
Thank you, Colonel. Carry on.
We got 3 properties for review. The first one is PN 9769-098590. Property listed for $23,063 tax value with a bid of $500.
Make a move, we reject this bid.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hensley, second by Commissioner Briggs. Is, any discussion?
Yeah.
You're the neighbor. Is that the neighbor?
You give me just a minute, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Don't have in Fox Trail. Alvin's Fox Trail.
You need that PIN number.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm looking at those. Yeah, I was trying to see. That 500 one's not Alvin Strong's Trail, is it?
Yeah.
Then
First one.
what's the third one then?
This one down here. I'm not sure.
Bear River.
What's he?
The third one.
He's checking the PIN numbers on.
Madam
The
Clerk,
third one must be Alvin's Fox Trail too, the same guy.
yeah, why is there a different PIN number?
Must be 2, there's 2 lots up there.
One's a 1 acre lot, the other is a third of an acre.
Yeah.
On this one, top one and the bottom one are the same bidder.
Yes.
One's a 1 acre lot, one's a third of an
Okay.
acre.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. review.
0525 has 2 bids. They're competing. 8590 has 1 bid. 1742 has 1 bid.
And
Correct.
8590 and 1742 are both in the same area.
They are, yes.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's my apologies.
That is the neighbor's bid, I do believe.
And what was the previous bid for 8590? I've got it. I'm just trying to find it. If you could bear with me.
Had one for $100.
I think it was $100 or $250 if I'm not mistaken.
$5 each.
And keep in mind, if we accept any of these bids, that just begins the upset bid process. This isn't an outright sale this evening. So what this does is it triggers the upset bid process.
Here we go. 8590 was 150.
8590 was, previous bid was $150.
50. I'm just looking through them. Bear with me. That's the one where we had $1,000 bid, but it was the bidder has had issues in the past, I believe.
So we have a motion on the floor.
And a discussion. I'm going to discuss that. I've been to that property. If I would entertain that if we can start the bidding process or the upset bidding process at 500. This may be a good piece of property to entertain doing that, and to put it back in the taxpayers' hands. We do have a previous bid. There was some concern about that bidor and the property having not been on the property. That was back in 22, but I have been there, and so at the end of the day, if we start the upset bid process,
So we've got
we still don't have to accept the final bid.
just to review our options, we can reject the bid outright, which is what the motion currently is. We can propose a counteroffer to the bidder and get the process started that way, or we can accept the bid outright and begin the upset bid process as the bid currently stands. Did I summarize that correct, Mr. Attorney?
That's right, and the last option, at the end of the upset bid process, if the amount is still an amount that you don't want to accept, then you can then reject the bid at that time. The only problem in accepting it now and allowing it to go through that is that you're gonna have to pay for a publication cost in the newspaper and have your clerk monitor that process.
So in essence, the only thing at risk is staff time and the cost to advertise the bid.
And what you may be gaining out of that is that it'll create a process where the bid is increased to a larger amount than the initial $500 bid.
And if it's not, and we still have heartburn, we can reject it at that time.
But is anybody more gonna know about this? I mean, is that gonna increase the knowledge of more people, or the increasing number of people that might bid on it?
Newspaper exposure will be the key.
There's 30 people here. I'm afraid to say a lot because I don't want to downgrade our sale here.
So any additional discussion? We've got a motion on the floor to reject the bid. We have by Commissioner Hensley. We have a second by Commissioner Briggs. No additional discussion at this time, so we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes 3-2. The bid be rejected outright. All right. Up next, we've got another piece of property, Colonel.
Roger, sir, you do pin number 889-006-0525. You have two bids for a $17,000 property. The first bid is $8,830. Second bid is $2,500. And you have a letter in your packet from the gentleman who did the initial bid at $8,830.
So we have an offer. We have two offers on this property. One in the amount of $8,830. The other is $2,500. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to either accept, counter offer, or reject. Do we need to do each one individually? Can we do them as a?
I think you probably ought to consider the high offer first.
That's what we pay you for, Donnie. That's great legal advice.
That property has been long-standing with us, so we've talked a lot about how we're going to move some of these surplus properties, and so I think that's a good starting place. So I make a motion that we accept for the bidding process $8,830.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor of acceptance? Passes unanimously. Do we need to officially reject the other one, Donnie?
I think
That's what I was trying to get at
I think I
before.
probably would, so that Mandy can send a letter saying that you've been.
I move we reject the bid for $2,500 for that PIN number ending in 0525.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison to reject the $2,500 bid. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? And then, Colonel, we've got one more.
Final one is pin number 9769191742. $100 bid on a $10,655 property for 0.33 acres.
All right, we have a
I'll make a
motion,
move, we reject that bid too.
motion to reject by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think that would be another good one to accept the $100 on it and get the bid process started. If nobody wants it, sell it and move on. Both those
Well, we
properties.
just give it away, that way we're gonna have to worry about it.
I totally agree, Bill. Totally agree. Here's what I know, that we would make our tax money back off this property. We've been sitting on these for 2 or 3 years and we're not selling them. We're not going to sell them for what the appraised value is. It's not going to happen. it's properties that would do well to move back into the public sector, let them use it as they will and tax them for it, and make our money on taxes.
You're not wrong in what you're saying.
No, you ain't.
Well, I've just been to them.
That's just an insult though to give us $100 bid
Yeah,
or
but if
$500
you go up there,
bid
that,
on a $23,000.
go up there and look
piece
at
of
that pin and you might say, yeah, we'll make that back in our taxes.
If it's value too high, we need to send a tax assessor out there to lower it.
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is what can we sell it for? And I voted against these properties out, but I've been up there, and the usability of them, and we're not going to sell them. Not for that. Or maybe go back and entertain. Well, this goes back to the discussion I've had with this board that I think, or with our leadership team, is that we tasked the county manager and our other staff with looking at 10 properties at a time and developing a minimal amount of what they're worth and what we would sell them for, and then put that out. So this is the minimum. These are 2 good properties. We could do that, make an assessment of what we think we could actually sell them for, and put a minimum bid and move on. Right now, people are shooting in the dark.
Initial work group is Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, at 10 o'clock, with the tax office, speaking out in the building myself, and GIS to develop that product for you.
These would be 2 good ones to add to it. We're not going to sell them. Let's develop. Go up there and actually put our feet on them, look at them, get a minimum, and let's see if we can't move them.
That's a good idea, put a minimum on it.
It would help a lot.
Yeah.
Donnie, for the sake of discussion, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah,
For a while?
I understand what Garrison's saying. I totally agree with it, but I'm with Jeremy, and $100 is just, I mean, I'm in that business, in the construction field, and I see where they put houses, and you think there's nowhere that they can put a house, and then all of a sudden there's a house there, so.
Well, and I'll give you an example on 8590. The road to get to it is a problem,
Yeah.
and they don't have a homeowners association that manages how that road gets, and the first 40 feet of it, as it drops off the side of the mountain and a rock cliff, is French Broad Electric's right away. So, it's in essence, whoever buys that's buying it because it's their neighbor. It borders their property. It's not buildable. The reason it's not buildable is because the access to it is 40-foot right away for French Broad Electric.
Which one?
That's the reason.
The 2.3.
The first one, the second one, I'm going to guess is probably in that same situation. Plus, there's an issue up there with. There's an issue with Albert's Fox Trail no longer being totally there. It was modified by someone, so. But let's move forward.
Just for the sake of discussion, Mr. Attorney, in theory, if we were to have 2 of these that we had accepted, could we advertise those together to reduce the advertising cost? Could we advertise those in the same announcement, or do we have to do 2 separate ones?
You need to bid it as a parcel of land. It's a tax parcel.
I'm saying for the purchase of an advertisement in the newspaper, can that be consolidated into one ad, or would you incur the expense of doing 2 separate ads?
I would do 2 separate ads. You're gonna pay basically the same cost because you're paying per line.
Okay.
I would keep them all separate. That way it's easier to put your notice of advertisement in each separate file.
I follow you now.
Is that advertisement like $250 or something?
It generally runs from about $180 to $210, depending on the number of.
So that might be a good benchmark in general to recoup our advertisement costs.
Exactly.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one.
Okay.
Break even.
Yeah.
No, that'd be good discussion for the committee.
Yes, sir.
All right.
If anybody deer hunts, you might be willing to pay $1,000 for one of these. I'm just saying, there's a lot of deer sign there. If I could plant a seed of sales.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor. The discussion is starting to deteriorate. We've got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any additional discussion that would be beneficial at this time?
That's a good.
Hearing none, all in favor that we reject the $100 offer? Any opposed? 4-1. All right.
Now that completes the surplus property or transition to the county board of warrants. 8C in your book packet. The first board is for the agricultural advisory board. There are 6 vacancies with 10 names below, 5 recommendations, soil and water supervisory board, and 5 for your
We gotta do these separately, or?
one line at a time. Yes, sir.
Well, these are really good candidates too, all of them are.
So did I misread that then? My understanding was we had 5 members that we were to appoint, and then 5 ex officio members. Is that not what we've got?
You are correct, and Soil and Water has made a recommendation for those ex officio members. Your board, I believe, Attorney Laws, correct if I'm incorrect, can choose those members as you see fit.
Okay.
From a likewise organization.
So the 5 voting members, we've got, let's see, five voting members up at the very top of the list there. Those are appointed based on the region of where they reside. And we have corresponding recommendations from the Soil and Water Board of Supervisors for those positions. And again, I guess the question begs is, can we do all 5 of those one time, Donnie, or we need to do them individually?
You're not are you replacing any particular seats?
Just the seats as noted on the table.
So
based on region.
those are the seats per region.
Yes.
Given that it's not a particular seat that you're having to vote that has a term, you can vote on this as a package.
Okay.
I'm sorry, please let me correct. There are terms that are staggered because they're restarting that board.
Okay. So then we do need to do them individually.
Well, the
If they're
terms,
staggered terms, then you need to specifically state which seat that you're voting on and do that one at a time.
So then we'll just do one at a time for this
And
to
for the ex
clarity.
officio-
I move we appoint Frank Carr from the Mars Hill community for the Mars Hill slot, Mars Hill region.
So we have a motion by
Advisory Board.
Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Briggs. He beat you.
Yeah, that's
All
good.
right.
No, that's all right.
Big Bill on the scoreboard here.
Fills
All
out
right.
a box.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? So motion is to appoint Frank Carr for the Mars Hill district. All in favor? All right.
I move we appoint Morris McAllister from Shelton Laurel.
Motion,
I'm moving on with this dude.
motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, the second by Commissioner Wyatt. To appoint Maurice McAllister for the Shelton Laurel district. And that follows the recommendation of the Soil and Water Board. Just for clarification, the Mars Hill position was for a 1-year term. The Shelton Laurel position is for a 2-year term. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right, Alan, you're up.
All right, now up next we'll just go in order
Make a motion
there in the
to
middle.
approve Jimmy Ramsey.
What's gonna do, Jimmy?
So motion by Commissioner Wyatt for Jimmy Ramsey for the Marshall region, and that will be a 3-year term as recommended by the Soil and Water Board of Supervisors. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Up next is Sandy Mush. This will be a 1-year term. The advisory board recommends Ricky Reeves. Is there a motion for Ricky Reeves?
I would do that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Briggs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Next is the Spring Creek region, and the Soil and Water Board of Supervisors recommends 2-year term, and that would be for Danny Spate. Is there a motion for Danny?
I move that we appoint him.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, the Water and Soil and Water Board of Supervisors has requested the following individuals be added to the board as ex officio members. That would be Extension Director Elizabeth Ayers, NRCS appointee John George, Soil and Water Director Jessica Hoax, retired Extension Director Ross Young, and from the FSA, Charlie Zink. Those would be non-voting ex officio members that would be appointed to the Agricultural Advisory Board at the request of the Soil and Water Board of Supervisors. Is there a motion to appoint that slate?
Now, is that all 5 of those? Because up here, it's only got 1 ex officio member. Do they want all 5 of them, or do they just want 1 out of that 5?
They would like to have all 5.
Okay.
The Board of Commissioners can choose as many or as little or none of those if you have someone else that you would rather appoint.
So this is at our discretion, and their terms also are at the pleasure of the Board of Commissioners. They're not set terms as the other ones were explained.
Chairman Wakefield, I move that we appoint Elizabeth Ayers, John George, Jessica Holtz, Ross Young, and Charlie Zink at the request of the Soil and Water Board as in ex officios.
We've got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Briggs. He's on a roll.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
That whole slate is a really good group, so I
Well,
appreciate all them serving.
Do we need to, talk about how many years here, or?
Do what?
They serve at the pleasure of the board, so we can remove them at any time. It's a right to work state. They don't work, get cut.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, do we want to keep like, let's say for Elizabeth Ayers, if you're an extension agent, like if she leaves and get another extension, do we want to make that as the, don't want to do that?
I think that would still
I
be,
think you leave it wide open so you can appoint whoever
Do
you
you want,
want.
sounds good.
that would be the pleasure of the board.
All right.
That falls under that caveat. All right, any additional discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion to approve the slate as presented. All in favor? It's unanimous. I believe that takes care of any vacancies that we have at this time. Just take note of, we've got several that will be coming up in the month of December.
Juvenile crime, 5 Parks and Rec.
Yeah, and I know, for example, the first individual listed on there for juvenile crime is deceased.
Yeah.
So we will definitely have to replace that individual with somebody new. So you guys can be looking for those. Am I safe to assume that means we don't have any other board vacancies between now and December?
Correct.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. County Manager. So,
And third question will transition to 8D,
8D.
personnel.
All right, we need a motion to go into closed session for this, do we not?
Second.
Wait, I'm asking.
Oh.
I wasn't asking for a motion yet.
He wants to go into our personnel.
You want to go ahead and knock out the personnel from earlier? And then will there be, just for clarification, will there be additional personnel discussions in closed session?
Just attorney-client privilege.
And for the purpose of the minutes and the clerk, could we put on the agenda what the subject matter is going to be for the attorney-client privilege? Will it be a zoning issue?
It's planning and zoning discussions, correct?
Yes.
Do I need to state that when we go, Donnie?
No, I think as long as you see it's, yeah, if you would, when you make that motion, if you would say that it would be, for attorney-client purposes for discussion of a potential litigation regarding a zoning issue.
Very good. All right, so, personnel for county manager, Mr. Honeycutt, floor is yours.
Yes, we've got 3 actions for personnel. The first is remove the title of interim for Tia Cash and make her the Madison County Animal Shelter Manager, effective 15 September, with the salary increase as listed in the third paragraph.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Pia Cash. She's been doing a great job at the animal shelter. I'd like to see her continue that.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Hensley. Both of those, the motion and the second, comes with a free dog. So you can claim your dog tomorrow at the animal shelter. Or cat.
You better not tell.
Free dog or 2 cats. You get 1 dog, 2 cats, all right? So, we've got a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right.
The next action is for a finance technician, Randy Rice, effective date of 18 September with a salary listed in paragraph number 3.
So, at this time, I entertain a motion.
Chairman Weckel, I so move.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Any discussion?
Just note she's a Madison County resident and has family ties here and has worked for the county before, so we're glad to have her back.
All right. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right.
Then the final personnel transaction is to hire a substitute circulation assistant, Miss Cindy Graves, with an effective date of September 11th, with the hourly salary as listed in paragraph number 3.
All right, we've got at this time I entertain a motion that we hire substitute circulation assistant. Motion by motion by Commissioner Briggs, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right.
Gentlemen, subject to question, complete the county manager's update pending the closed session.
Thank you, Colonel.
All right. Any questions for the Colonel? All right, hearing none at this time, we will move into, or I would entertain a motion that we go into closed session in order to prevent disclosure of privileged information under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 in regards to potential litigation on planning and zoning.
I'll make it.
Motion from Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All right, we go back into closed session. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everyone who came out tonight. Thank you very much. Okay. So, at this time, I need to make a technical amendment. For our previous motion, we went into closed session, in order to go to consult with our attorney for attorney-client privilege under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. I believe I misspoke earlier and said A1, so the correction is we're doing that under A3. So, do we need to do anything?
Let's make a motion and stick it and adopt that.
All right, so I will make that in the form of a motion. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chairman Garrison. Any discussion? Hearing none, we adopt the amended motion unanimously. Thank you. All right, now this time I'll entertain a motion that we return to open session. I guess we should have done that first, shouldn't we?
We already done.
I'm sorry, we already did
Motion
that.
to adjourn.
My apologies. So this time I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Go ahead, John.
second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? We stand adjourned.